Bandcamp doesn't work like that, does it? Bandcamp doesn't do anything for us. Sadly, it doesn't promote us at all. I don't think.
No, that's true. But I mean, even like I've looked at the analytics, and at times, whenever I put out a new album, I'll get sometimes people will listen to my album, or I'll get like 80 listeners or something on Bandcamp for over the period of a month, and then it goes to nothing. Mm-hmm. But even that's not enough for, And I've had, like, other than you and 2 other people I know of, 4 people now. There's 4 people I know of that have bought my albums on Bandcamp, and that's it.
Is that right?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'm more or less the same. I mean, I don't have. I've been there since 2014, and I just recently broke the £500 barrier, which meant I had to sign up for tax in America.
Oh, lovely. It's funny. I've had a discography in my shopping cart for about a year now. I'm just waiting until my bank account starts going the other direction before I hit buy.
Right.
Because I know Megan would be like, you can't just spend $200 on Peri's music.
No, of course you can't. Of course you can't.
I'm going to though.
I would never expect that. I would never expect it.
Oh, I know you don't, but I plan on it. It's in my every time I go into Bandcamp, it's in the shopping cart. It reminds me, like, you gonna buy this? And every time you put out a new album, it just gets a little more expensive.
It gets more expensive. Well, that's good then. I'm going to start putting out a lot of albums. It's money in the bank, isn't it?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, well, I hope I do wish you all success with your business. I think that'll be a good thing to do. And you'll feel a lot happier when it actually happens.
I think so. And there's some, like I'm not like you talk about small businesses not undervaluing themselves. I'm not good with chasing money. I'm not good with demanding my value from people. I find it hard to do. So I'm not looking forward to that part, but I'm going to rely on my wife a bit for that, and say, hey, Megan, like, this customer doesn't want to pay. Call them, deal with them, please. Like, you tell them how it is, and that kind of stuff, and I'm trying to make everything transparent. Like, on my website, on my Facebook page, like the most recent post, my Facebook page is my rates. Like, exactly what you're going to be paying when I get to your house. Mm-hmm. And I think my rates are a little bit lower than they should be, but that's just because, again, I want to get my foot in the door. I plan on raising them over the next year, the rates to go up, but we'll see. And I do hope that, if I do sever my relationship with LG professionally as an employee, that I plan on doing work for them. I'll still be fixing appliances for LG. I'd like that to be the majority of my work, because I know LG appliances, and I used to be an LG technician before I worked for LG. That's how I got the job, right? Mm-hmm. Like I was already kind of, I've been working for LG and with LG for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Right. In combination. Right. So, like my professional relationship with LG is the longest running professional relationship I've had with anything ever in my life, other than like music itself. So that's I'd hope not to lose that. And because I live in an area where they don't really have coverage, I think that'll be an advantage for me, mm-hmm. and because I know that I don't know if I can fix appliances till I retire without falling apart, right? So I have to make plans to upscale the business to the point where I don't have to be on my knees, bending up and upside down, trying to fix dishwashers and stoves. Of course, and stuff, right? Yeah. So my plan is I want technicians in every city center in the Maritimes eventually, right? So I want to have a couple of technicians in Halifax, a couple of technicians in Moncton, a technician or 2 in Newfoundland, a technician or 2 in PEI, maybe a technician in Cape Breton. When I get to that level, then my paycheck would be based off of them doing service, mm-hmm. and I could run the business, and I could train people too, right? Because and even though I've been an appliance technician now for almost 20 years, I don't have any licensing other than, like, I have a certificate to carry refrigerant, and I had a gas license in Ontario, but I let that expire because I don't work in Ontario anymore. So I finally went and got my government red seal as a appliance technician 2 weeks ago.
All right.
Like, I signed up for a course, or not a course, but for an exam to challenge the exam. Just an exam they would give like a youngster that has the hours in the trade, right? Because you need something like 8,000 hours in the trade, and I have 45,000 hours. Right. So it was no problem for me to challenge it. And I went and I aced the exam, and I got my ID came in the mail last week. So now I have an ID that says I'm a Red Seal certified journeyman. Well, they're called journey persons now.
Journey person?
Yes.
Well, good for you.
I'm a journey person.
That's great. That's really good.
Yeah. So now I can train people to become journey persons themselves.
Journey
right?
persons.
Because I know, isn't it ridiculous?
It's crazy, yeah. But I mean, okay, journey person, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember George Carlin joking about David Letterman should have to change his name to Dave Letterperson.
I know, it's crazy. The world's gone crazy. Did we, talking about LG and things like that, you've been in Korea since we last spoke, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to say something about that? Because I found that fascinating.
Yeah, Korea was definitely an eye opener in many ways. So I don't like flying, partially because I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2" or 6'1", and I'm big. Especially right now, I'm bigger than I normally am. Right, so I'm like 280 pounds. I'm a big guy. So I don't fit well in airplanes. So it was the prospect of taking a 2-hour flight to Toronto and then a 15-hour flight to Korea, to Seoul, was like, I was freaking out about it. My best friend for that, lorazepam, tranquilizers.
Good Lord.
I know. So I was at my doctor 2 weeks before I left, and talking about my trip to Korea and how scared I was. Like, I was terrified, and you could see like how visibly shaken I was about this flight. And he goes, "I can help you with that." I said, "What? You're gonna give me some tips, like how to meditate on an airplane?" He's like, "No, I'll give you some drugs." And I was like, "I don't want your psychotropics. I told you I don't want antidepressants." He's like, I know. I'm not. He's like, he called it Ativan, which I guess is the brand name for lorazepam. Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I can give you a prescription for some lorazepam for the flight." And he gave me like, I forget how many doses, like 4 or 5 doses of this tranquilizer. So that was a nice bonus, right? So my flight to Toronto wasn't bad. I got to the airport. I walked up. I got there early because I'm used to flying internationally. So domestic flights, you don't have to be there as early, right? So for an international flights, you got to be like there at least 3 hours before the flight to get through security and all the bullshit. But domestic flights, you could be there like an hour before and still have plenty of time to get on your plane, right? But I got there 3 hours before anyway. So I was the first person to check into my flight. And the lady at the desk says, she's like, "You're a big guy. Would you like a nice seat?" I'm like, "Of course I'd like a nice seat." Now, I wasn't flying a big jet, so there was no first class or anything like that, but she gave me a seat in the emergency exit row. And in the exit row, you have like an extra like 7 or 8 inches of leg room because you need the space to get to the door if you have to exit the plane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got, and because I'm able, like if you have to be a fit person to sit there too, because you have to be able to help people out of the airplane too as part of the requirement, right?
Right.
So you can't sit there if you're disabled or have an injury or you're, like morbidly obese, that kind of stuff. So right off the bat, she put me in the best seat of the plane, which already put me in a good mood, And so I did that. I sat down in that seat and I sat beside a really nice lady. We had a conversation all the way back to Toronto. So that was off to a good start. But then right from Toronto, I had to go to work. You texted me one of your pictures of you doing something outside. You said, "Life's good." And I said something like, "I guess for you it is, but I'm in a cubicle right now under a fluorescent light, It doesn't look so good from here. But it says life's good on the door, so I guess it must be good, And so I was at work there and it was nice. I had this invigorated feeling of like liking my job a lot more because I got to meet all these people I don't normally talk to. Or I talk to, but I don't see face to face because I'm used to not being in the office because even as a technician, I never went to the office except for a couple times a year. But now that I'm working with office people, I email these people, talk to them on the phone on a regular basis, and I can't really put a face to them, or I don't see body language, which is tough for me because I don't know, I never know where I stand because all my communication is done through email or through phone conversations. So I have a hard time trusting my instincts or my feelings when it comes to any interaction. So when I got there, I felt part of a family, like people were being very friendly, pat me on the back,
right,
give me swag, and it was nice, So I remember like being in the office thinking like, wow, like, I really wish they paid me more because I really like being here.
Yeah.
And everybody was kind of like some guys were trying to give me positive advice for the flight. Some guys were trying to scare me about my experience in Korea, just doing the typical, peer ribbing, And I worked there for that day. And then me and my boss went out for dinner and we hung out at a bar around the corner from the office till like about 11 o'clock at night, just having a few pints and shooting the shit. And then he dropped me off at my hotel and it was a very nice hotel I had in Toronto, but I didn't have a chance to enjoy it because I got there at like 11 p.m. and I had to be at the airport for like 5 a.m. or something like that.
Right, yeah.
So I got a little bit of a sleep and I was terrified to sleep because I was still terrified of this flight. And And one of the pieces of advice I got given, if you could choose your seat, pick an aisle seat, right in the middle row, because the plane going to Korea is one of those planes that has 3 seats, like 3 rows of 3. So pick an aisle seat in the middle row, because that way you'll have to interact less, because the person sitting in the middle is going to only 50-50 is going to ask you to move, right? When they have to go to the bathroom. And I knew that because I'm a big guy, there's a good chance no one will ask me to move, because the person sitting on this side is probably gonna be smaller and more likely right?
Yes.
So, so I thought that's good advice. And so, everything went well at the airport. We got on our flight and everything on time. And, it was neat when I was sitting at the airport waiting for my boss in the morning, cause I got there before he did, cause he was coming with me to Korea. I was sitting beside some lady and we got shooting the shit at the airport. Turns out she's from Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And she was on her way home from a Caribbean trip, and her son's a musician. And so she's like, I'm like, me and your son should hang out. I haven't heard from him, which isn't uncommon. Every musician I've interacted with has never reached back out to me yet. So I don't know if it's because I always tell them, go listen to Death by Design and then get back to me. And I think they do. And they go, I can't make music with this guy. I don't know what it is, like there's no room. Either they hear there's no room for them. Maybe my music's too advanced for them, or there's like, that's not what I want to be involved with. But I try to explain to them that I want you to hear the music because I want you to realize that I'm capable of almost everything. But then I gotta remind myself, no one's gonna listen to 15 hours of my music to realize what I'm capable of. They're gonna listen to it they're gonna pick a random song, listen for 30 seconds and go, it's not my cup of tea, and then they move on, right? So I don't know how else to, I should probably make a video of me playing some bluegrass and be like, here, this is what I can do,
It's difficult.
Yeah. So anyway, that didn't. But it was a nice conversation meeting someone from Antigonish. Because only because the talent population is like 2,000 people, right? So the odds of running into someone from Antigonish in Toronto is pretty rare.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got in the plane, and I'm sitting in my seat in the middle on the aisle in the middle row, and there's a lady from China sitting 2 seats over from me, and the seat between us is empty, and we're both going like, fingers crossed. And sure enough, no one sat there. So I had an empty seat next to me for my big flight. So I didn't even take the tranquilizers. I was very lucky that way. So I was very comfortable for my flight out. It was a very long flight. I couldn't believe it. I wrote some music on my iPad. I haven't finished it because I couldn't quite bring it to the end, and I kept getting headaches trying to because I don't do motion very well. So I was getting like motion sickness from looking at the iPad while I was flying. And I find I didn't spend enough time with GarageBand to get proficient enough with it to be able to use it like a proper DAW. So I found myself struggling more with making things, like doing things I wanted to do. Yeah. Rather than actually making music. But I recorded a really cool song I called "Flying into the Future." Because we were flying into the future, because we left at like 9 a.m. on Saturday and arrived at like 5 p.m. on Sunday in Korea, right, or something like that. Sorry, we left at 9 a.m. Friday. Arrived at 5 p.m. on Saturday in Korea. So which is a head fuck. But on the way home, I left Korea at 9 a.m. on Saturday. Sorry, 10 a.m. I left Korea at 10 a.m. on Saturday and landed in Toronto at 9 a.m. on Saturday. So I landed in Toronto an hour before I left.
That is a weird one, isn't it? It is. That's when you realize you live on a gigantic ball.
Exactly, right? It's very strange. And that was weird too, because like I took a 15-hour flight to Korea, a day and a half passed, but I never saw the sun go down. The sun was up the whole way there. Yeah,
you messaged me about that and said that you sort of chased the sun around the world.
Yeah, well, I thought it'd be the other way around. I thought I'd see the sun rise and fall twice, and then come home in all sunlight. Because the time didn't change. Because the time
it was 9. So wait. My geography's bad here.
I'm flying west to get to west of Korea.
Flying west over the Pacific, then.
Yeah, well, it's weird. We kind of went over the North Pole, which is really weird. We kind of went northwest.
Oh, I'm with you.
And then we veered around Russia and China and went over Japan and then landed in Korea. Oh. But it was west, like northwest and southwest.
Oh, wait a minute. I've got my little globe here. Hold on.
Yeah. And then coming home, we went straight across the ocean.
Oh, right.
So I don't understand. It must have something to do with jet streams and everything, right?
Oh, right. I see. Yeah, you're going. Yeah, okay, right. I see it. Of course, you're going.
There's a weird.
You're going.
So when we left Toronto, we went almost straight north over like the Great Lakes. over Georgian Bay and up towards like over the Northwest Territories, and then we kind of veered just south of the North Pole, and then went around Russia, missed, and then went around China, flew over Japan, and then flew straight to Korea over top from being.
Oh, I see. I've got your route. Yes, I've got your route on the little globe here.
There you go.
Yeah, it's fantastic, eh?
Yeah, and the reason I know that is because they had like Google Earth on the screen and behind the seat, and you can watch where you're going.
Yeah, you can see yourself flying. Yeah, see where you are. Yeah.
And then so we got there Saturday evening, and we took a cab right to the hotel. And
so wait. You've buried.
I skipped the flight.
You've buried the lead here with. So when you land in Seoul, is this where you are? You're landing in Seoul, so you step off the plane. What does anything hit you right away, or is it just an international airport and it's just all the same? Yeah,
I mean, if the Seoul airport was a little nicer than the Toronto airport, but they're both in the same level. Like they're both like major.
Yeah.
Like the Toronto airport's like the biggest, one of the biggest airports in the world, right? So like I think I don't know how it compares to. What's the one in London? Is it Logan or something? Or what's the name of the airport in London? Heathrow, yeah. So I think it's probably comparable to Heathrow. It's comparable to LAX in Los Angeles. Like it's one of those size airports. So Seoul's airport is very similar. That way. It was just nicer though. Like they had like, everything was a little cleaner. Everything was a little more organized there. The security in Korea was very quick and non-invasive. Like I thought for sure they'd be searching our bags, looking for drugs and other things, and there was no, like I didn't feel violated in any way at all. There was no conversation with anybody. No one asked me any questions. Everything was done like on paper. Like I wrote on my piece of paper, like how long I was there, what I was there for. I held up my passport and had my picture taken, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very smooth airport experience. Like one of my most pleasurable airport experiences for something like that. And then I got to, we got into the airport. It was very busy out there. It was, I remember in my head thinking like, because every time I've gone on vacation somewhere, I could speak English no matter where I went and get along very well. Not South Korea. No one speaks English in South Korea, or very little do they. The people that do love to talk to you. Like they're like, oh, you're American. Yeah, let's talk. And so which didn't bug me at all. Like I thought that was kind of nice, but my phone and using Google Translate was like the only way I got by.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on, right? So, sorry, you gotta be quiet. You drive me nuts. He's whining behind me because he wants me to go outside and throw a ball for him.
All right, poor Zappa.
Yeah. So we picked up a Uber, not a cab. We got an Uber, and we took the Uber to our hotel. And I gotta say this, which is I don't know if you guys, but you're not much of you don't drive, so I don't know how much you know about driving stereotypes. But here in Canada, I'm probably because of what I do for a living, and just because I come from an athletic family, we have very good hand-eye coordination, so I'm a very good driver. Like I'm very skilled at driving. I take advantage of like a lot of like the nuances of what make a good driver versus a mediocre driver versus a bad driver. So I have a hard time dealing with bad drivers. So whenever I'm in a big city in Ontario, especially in Toronto, there's Asian people all over the place. And whenever you see someone doing a bunch of stupid stuff in the car, you take a look in the car and they're almost always Chinese or Asian of some sort, right? And so I don't know if you have those stereotypes in the UK or not, or if it's Indian people are your bad drivers. Or I don't know what it is.
No, we don't have any. Not that I know of, but I was aware when I visited San Francisco that the Asian people in San Francisco were considered to be terrible drivers, and there was somebody said something about little old Korean lady driving a car, and everybody was lambasting this little old Korean lady driving a car, which we hadn't seen at that point, and I was, oh, what are they talking about? That's surely that's just racist. And then we were driving along, and there was a little old Korean lady driving a car, and she was so small she couldn't see over the steering wheel. She was looking through the top of the arc at the top of the steering wheel, sort of craning her neck, and the guys in the car just turned to me and said, "See, there it is." And I was like, well, that doesn't make her a bad driver just because she can't see where she's going, surely.
Exactly right. And my assumption always was that the roads must be different than they are in Asia, or it must be like people who've come from Asia to Canada didn't get taught how to drive properly. Like I always assumed it was a cultural thing, But anyway, after my 5th or 6th cab ride in Korea, like I puked. I had to get out of a car and puke because I was so sick in one of the cars.
Good God.
After my 5th or 6th cab ride, I remember I turned to my boss. I said, I think I figured it out. And he was like, what? I said, they're all fucking Asian here. They all drive terribly. And he was like, oh my God, I think you're right. Because I just assumed, because I'd never been in a cab before because usually when you're in a cab in Canada, no matter where they're from, they're very good at driving because they drive all day long. Like they're professionals.
Sure.
Right. So you feel safe. You don't feel ill. Like you don't even think about it. You get in the car, you put your seatbelt on, and you just know you're going to get to where you're going. Now there was no car accidents that we experienced in Korea, but it was the bus drivers, the cab drivers, they were all absolutely terrible. Like it was like I felt like I was going to die every time I got in a vehicle, not from fear of my life, but because of this, like getting sick from all the stopping and starting and the swerving and there was no consideration for your passenger. Like they're just like I'm trying to get somewhere and I don't care how I get there. You know, like it's just hang on for your life.